He lived from 1910 to 1981, and I discovered his music about the same time that I was coming out, and it's never mentioned in any of the bios about Barber that he was gay, but it always refers to his lifelong companion, Giancarlo Illuminati, and like, well, there we go. And I just loved his music. I was intrigued by the fact that here was a man that lived with another man and basically lived a married life. They had a house together. They had their ups and downs. They ended up, dissolving their relationship after some time. And through all this, he wrote such beautiful music, and so I could really connect with the music part, the struggles that he went through that were just like any other sort of person that I could see. Yeah, so if you don't know his music, check it out. Great composer. Cool guy.
Alright, I'm gonna say something, and it's not supposed to be cheesy, but the GMCW, like, you guys are really role model to me. I don't know about anyone else, but every time that I see you guys or hear your stories, it really helps me through stuff that me or my friends are going through. Another person is actually another composer. While he did not have a great life, he had a very depressing life, but the thing that makes me look up to him is that he kept going until the end, and it's Tchaikovsky, and his music makes me cry, and I try to play it. I'm not that much of a virtuoso, but it makes me, yeah. It's Tchaikovsky.
Good taste.
Well, I wonder about thinking about just the intersection of all these things, right? So I know Ms. Spitzer was talking about Ellen. And I think that what's kind of magical about Ellen is she's also this very approachable, welcoming, likable person. And by being so approachable and welcoming and likable, and just in her personality, I think it makes it easier for people who might be uncomfortable with LGBTQ people to learn more about that and become more comfortable with that idea. And what I think is interesting when we think about role models is how here at Lee High School, I think you all have become role models for a lot of ways, for the same reasons for your peers. And I don't know if you all realize how much you have changed the culture of Lee in the last 3 or 4 years that you've been, I think, in existence. Because you exist, kids are more willing to talk about LGBTQ issues and to identify with you, whether or not they're in your group. And I know just based on the work that I do, when a kid comes out with me, one of the first things I say is, hey, do you know about Ms. Spitzer's group? That's a really good, safe place to get started. And you change the dynamic in the building, I think, as a whole, because you've opened up a conversation. And you've kind of become role models of people who are welcoming and supportive and doing well academically and functioning, and you have friends, and you're visible in the school, and you're likable, like Ellen. You know what I mean? So you've made a conversation happen that wasn't happening before, so you've made the school more welcoming. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
I would have loved to have had you as a teacher. That was just awesome. But I had this was my safe space in my high school. The band. I don't know where your band room is, but ours were connected by offices, so we kind of had a practice room set between them, and it was the place that I would go to get away. And I didn't sing for 25 years, but now GMCW, even though I don't need that safe space, has been an incredibly wonderful space. And now my opportunity to sit here and kind of share that safe space with you guys. Jason.
Yeah, I loved what you said, and what was in my head, because being someone who has been out since I can remember, I started playing the piano when I was 4, and that made me the freak, because I was different than a lot of kids. And when I came out to my parents, I really didn't have any other, it was just who I was. And so I went through school in a very rural part of the country, very conservative area, but yet my family was very supportive, thank goodness. But what ended up happening was, because I wasn't, and everyone chooses to express themselves differently through this, and a lot of the struggles that kids have, regardless of whether they're gay, straight, or whatever that is, the kids' insecurities with themselves, however they manifest, is why people talk about each other. It's not necessarily a gay or a straight thing, but there's just something going on in their life that they decided we're going to attack you today. But what's so important is that if you just live in a loving manner and love your friends and just support them wherever they are, you do become the role model. I cannot tell you how many of my friends that Facebook opened up, that all through high school, it was me and one other guy and 2,000 students that I knew was gay. And he was picked on for being gay, I was picked on for being overweight. And years later, friends came out of the woodwork, said, thank you so much for being who you were, because you gave me the opportunity to be okay later in life. And you have no idea who you're reaching and who you're touching today. So just keep doing what you're doing, because that role model is something that's going to save somebody else's life. It's that important. So you guys just keep doing what you're doing.
Alon, and then Larry, and then we have some singing.
So I grew up in the Bay Area of California, where it was uber progressive. It was like kind of, it was an unsaid thing that it was okay to be gay. But that being said, I didn't actually come out until I went to college, because I didn't feel comfortable coming out. And I came out to my friend in my sophomore year of high school, my best friend at the time. We were actually in the practice room, in our band room. I pulled her in, I'm like, I have to tell you something. And it was like this big deal, and I was like being very dramatic, as all of us should be.
Something's never changed.
But I came out to her, and her reaction was, first of all, she said, so it's either that you're gonna tell me that you were gay or you liked me. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And then she told me that maybe it's better that you don't come out until you go out to college, because it's just so hard to be out in high school. This is, again, in a liberal bastion in California. It would have been fine, but I didn't have anyone to have a conversation with. I didn't have role models that were out. People weren't really out. They might have been like kind of flamboyant, kind of whatever, but like no one was really talking about it. So the conversation wasn't being had. So I just kind of rolled up into a ball and just didn't come out until I thought I would come out in college. I went to Berkeley, again, another liberal bastion. And I got to college, and I was like, oh, I'll just reinvent myself. I'll be this like big gay queen, and I'll do whatever. And yet I still did not feel comfortable. I didn't have any role models. I didn't have anyone to have the conversation with. And only once I started talking to people and made myself feel more comfortable, did I actually went out in my sophomore year of college. And so just to re-emphasize all these things, the environment that you live in is one thing, but the role models that you have, the conversations that you have no idea how much that can do to someone. And really, and bringing it back to why the chorus is so important to me, is that this is the first like gay community that I've had ever in my life. In college, there were a lot of gay people, but there was not a gay community where you could really just be yourself and really whatever. Be who you are, wear whatever you want, and be who you want. And so many of my role models in my lifetime have come out of the chorus, because I'm like, wow, go you. Do you.
There's a lot of being yourself now.
Yeah, there's a lot of being yourself, so I've learned a lot.
And Larry, we'll wrap it up with you.
And wrapping up, I think there was a perfect question asking about role models, because you got me thinking back to the early 1980s when, I could have come out in 1980, or I think that's when I really kind of secretly self-identified as being gay. The fog had lifted. I knew who I was, but society at large was so unaccepting that I forced myself into denial. And for me, the role models back then were not celebrities. They were small actors, but in a very big way. Like my best friend growing up, who came out before I did. Somebody on student government in college who was very openly gay. When I was like ready to deal with it, I had people I could go talk to who I respected, where I could get advice, be in a safe place, that sort of thing. And every single interaction of that sort, to the extent that we're all role models for others, and the chorus collectively, over its 34 years, the thousands of people who come to our concerts over those years, and all the outreach we've done in the community, and every little heart here and there and mind that gets changed, can't be underestimated. Nor can, I think, Ellen and Will and Grace. We wouldn't be on the brink of marriage equality in the country if it weren't for for them. And the national platform, they had to reach millions of people and bring them into their homes and see how absolutely normal and quirky and funny and irritating and unique and special we all are. But we all, of course, share, it's cliche, but we all share the species of which we are. And it's just amazing for me to see the amount of progress we've made in the past several decades. It's really coming to a new watershed, and there's still work to be done, obviously. But I never would have imagined 30 years ago. So I've got a lot of people to do that for.
Almost every week in one of the rehearsals that I get to attend, and I'm a very active member of the course, but one of the favorite pieces of rehearsal for me is our fan mail time. Every now and then, Theo or Paul will read something that somebody has sent to us, and the stories that I've heard over the last 6 years, we have this whole, the cheesy piece of we change hearts and minds, but when you get those emails and here I am already tearing up because I'm thinking about this one in particular. It's amazing to know how much of an impact just standing there and singing for somebody and what that does for them. So we are going to do that for you now. So if you guys would kind of make your way